If your primary role as a leader is to create other leaders, the best gift you can give your people as a leader is clarity.
Am I showing up here with leader energy or worker energy? And that can be just that alone might be a great way to kind of go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
That's not what really wise leaders do. They don't go to people first as the problem. They go to the machine first, the system. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Living Richly, my favorite podcast. And I'm so excited to be guest hosting today on a vital topic on business growth and business ownership, and even beyond business, but when you're the leader and everything depends upon you. And we're going to discuss that and the traps and the pitfalls that we can fall into. And it's going to be a really powerful conversation.
Yeah, we're
I'm
looking
really excited
forward to
about it.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm the two people that I'm normally watching and listening to. Now they're watching me.
I know, this
And
is great. This is
really-
actually really, and this is new for you. I mean, you co-hosted another episode with Rob
Just a few weeks ago.
Just a few weeks ago with author Jim Murphy. I see you've got the book here on the table, and this is your first time hosting the show, guest hosting the show, and so it's kind of cool not to be in the driver's seat and to watch you lead us in this what is a really
it almost
big
fits into the topic at hand, right? It's around.
We are doing it.
It's like we planned it.
It's like we delegated it.
Yes, because the business grows. And we could even say the podcast grows. The business grows, but the system stays the same.
Yeah.
So now more and more of the weight of the business, which may have been small in the beginning, and the business owner or the leader is handling it, but now it's growing and the system doesn't change, and now it becomes too much weight, too much, and it can't be scaled, and it's overwhelming.
And I think, like, although today's conversation is certainly going to zero in on leaders, and we're going to be talking business today. Rhapsody does sponsor the podcast, and we have a large percentage of our listeners that are leaders. A lot of our clients tune into the show, and others that aren't clients yet tune into the show. But we do this in life as well. Our lives evolve. And there are certain types of people that tend to take everything on, right? That leader type person, whether you own a business or not. Think of the person who tends to lead the household or lead in sort of family dynamics. And over time, that whole thing becomes really, really heavy. And the way that you cope and the way that you manage your life is outdated. It doesn't work anymore, but you keep trying to make it work. So whether you're a business leader or not, I think you're going to find great value from the conversation. But definitely the conversation today, we want to speak to those leaders they're still the system.
They're still the system.
They're still the system.
And this is going to be so interesting because there's all kinds of factors and reasons why we don't grow systems and develop. But before we go into that, let's first of all do our own confessional because all of us have led organizations and led teams, led projects where we became the bottleneck, or we were tempted to become the bottleneck. And we can relate to this because this is a journey we had to figure out. We're not just theoretically talking about this. We've had to learn this as well. So, Rob, why don't you go first? Tell us about a time when you as a leader were leading, but the system didn't grow and everything still depended upon you.
Well, and for me, certainly in most of the organizations that I've led, I'm wired to be a team player. I want to bring the team along. And so in certain areas and ways, I can be very...
You don't bring me along.
I absolutely bring you.
His back is hurting from carrying you.
Oh, there's not
my back is sore from carrying you. Nice. I like that. That's really good. Okay, I got to shut up now.
And so there's that aspect is there where I find where it often I step in and now take control and become the bottleneck is when there's at all an issue or a crisis or a thing, or if I'm running low on just my own self-worth, I get it's an ego feed for me to be the guy that walks in the room and go, oh my God, good thing Rob's here. Now we're going to be okay. And when I'm feeding that, then absolutely I start to jump in and want to take this or take, and even my confession about, I'm a team player and I really like to bring people up, is also a little bit of an ego thing of saying, oh my God, how wonderful you are, right? And so then it becomes dependent on even that.
Yeah, let's pin that ego conversation, because that is one of the factors that we will dive into later, and it's okay, it's normal, but it can really become the bottleneck. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, we talked on a recent show about first formation, second formation, and the language of first formation is not mine. It speaks to our family history, our family of origin, where we grew up, the values we learned, how we came to what we came to believe about ourselves and the world and how we interact with it, and how that's always a mixed bag for most of us. There's some good things in there, and there's a lot of shit that we need to learn to jettison over time. And then the second formation is a term I use to talk about those early years of work. So when you enter the workforce, let's face it, we spend more waking hours at work than we do at home, and we often don't talk enough about those early formative years of work and leadership and experience, and how that shaped our view of the world. So both my first formation and my second formation were all about me doing everything.
Right.
Pushed to the front of the room when I was very young, as a leader in my earlier career, and even as a kid. My parents had a strong work ethic, but I remember coming home from like third grade. I was a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked in dad's business, and I'd be the first one home for hours by myself.
Wow.
And the first thing I was required to do when I got home was chores. And the chores were not like clean up your room. It was like vacuuming and cleaning the washrooms and cleaning the kitchen. And I had to do all of that before I ever got out of the house. Now, that taught me a lot of great values,
right?
But it also taught me that my value is in what I do. So making the mistake in earlier years of leadership of being the guy who steps in to rescue, save, carry the weight, protect the team, right? It's easier if I just do it myself.
Yeah.
It's like I was programmed,
right?
And I don't want that to sound victim-y, because I made my own choices in there for sure,
right? Of course,
the programming and my own insecurity and my own ego mix it all together, and I was the system in pretty much every organization that I led, especially my early years.
Yeah, so we'll pin the ego, but then also how we've learned to function. It's not even an ego thing. It's just, this is the way, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And that's just, and then the third thing that I really, from my experience, is I just didn't know there was another way to do it. I just assumed, Frank Sinatra was right. I did it my way, and if it's going to be, it's up to me. That it's just, I didn't realize or know that there were systems. I didn't know that there were processes. I didn't know that delegation could be so powerful. It was just sort of this ignorance. I'd love to get your thoughts on this in the book The E-Myth, which is a
Michael Gerber,
wonderful,
that's a classic,
wonderful book. He talks about, and what you just said triggered that in my mind, Eric. He talks about the development of a leader as infancy, adolescence, and maturity. And when you were talking about in your first formations in that infancy, so what are your thoughts on what have you seen? I know you're coaching leaders, you're having conversations with leaders all the time. When it comes to infancy, adolescence, and maturity, what are you seeing and hearing out there when you're talking to leaders?
Yeah, we developed there's a model we developed in our work with leaders called the sophisticated leader, and basically has 4 stages. Just a simple, again, kind of a stage where you can kind of try to map where do you think you are, and each stage has its own advantages and its own challenges. And of course, the first stage, I'll do this quickly. First stage is emerging leader. This is a brand new leader or with very little experience, and that's where the hustle, the muscle. I got to prove myself. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if my team thinks I can do this. Like it's often a mix of both tremendous excitement and anxiety, right? Sort of like a first date. There's potential, so there's excitement, but there's tremendous anxiety. Will this person like me? Will this work out? That's often what an emerging leader is feeling, very insecure. And so they overcompensate with tons of effort, tons of energy. But if they focus enough of that energy in the right direction, they'll move to the second stage, which is called the accomplishing leader. And the accomplishing leader is someone who is managing now to harness enough of that energy of them and their team to get results. And so now what's happening is they're earning credibility. Their team is beginning to trust them. The team says, oh, they do know what they're doing, at least enough to, win often enough. We're not winning all the time, but we're getting results. The thing is, that's two of 4 stages, right? We go then from there to empowering leader, and then we go to sophisticated. Most people get stuck at accomplishing, because accomplishing, you became an accomplishing leader because you became the system. You were the person that every decision had to come through. You were involved in just about every moving part of your team, your business. You were the rallying point. You were the rallying cry. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. You were the flag bearer, so to speak, right? Problem is now you've created, if you stay too long in that phase, you create a dependency where the team is used to you now deciding, solving, saving, and that does stroke the ego. It feels good to be at the center, but it very quickly becomes you're the chief bottleneck in the company, and it could feel very overwhelming.
And I think along with that, because what happens in those early stages as a leader and in a business, most people now, this might be different if you buy a business that's already established and has got the systems.
True, right? That's different. Yeah.
But in most cases, businesses, when you launch a business, and in those early stages, you're on the tools, you're managing the books, you're doing everything.
Payroll,
you're doing all of
dealing
that
with HR issues.
Exactly. And then you start to bring on staff, and you begin to create systems. Hopefully, if you're a smart leader, you start to build systems. Again, the challenge is you're the one building the system. Your thinking has got into it, and so you go back to, so now it's, I know the right way to do the system. Now I try to teach it to Eric, and Eric starts doing the system different than how I envisioned it and created it. And all of a sudden, my natural tendency is to go back in and go, no, you're doing it wrong. Well, maybe he's not doing it wrong. He's doing it different, but you're still just trying to flesh out those systems. And I think early on, that's what keeps us in that bottleneck of doing everything is exactly the emerging leader, and then also the launch phase of a business where you're doing everything and starting to create this stuff. It's all coming out of your head and in your thinking. Of course, you're the expert at it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fear. What if this goes wrong?
100%.
What if I let go and they drop the ball?
Totally. And I would say what I would challenge there, not challenge, because I agree with you 100%, but I have seen this in mature organizations as well, that yes, you don't have the dynamic necessarily of having to create the systems. When you're in an existing business, some of those systems have already been established. A lot of them are out of date. A lot of them aren't even being followed.
That doesn't mean they're good.
Just because you have them doesn't mean they're being
100%,
followed.
yeah.
But the underlying, whether they have good systems or not in a more mature business, fundamentally, the emerging leader needs and wants to prove themselves. So they will step outside the lane. They will overperform often. The folks that I'm talking about, the folks that rise to leadership positions here. We're talking about leadership, right? Not everyone does that. We know there's some folks that phone at home. I think some of the more recent studies show that the average employee, about 80% or higher of employees are phoning it in, are disengaged at work. I mean, that's a pretty scary number when you think about
too high.
8 out of 10 or more, right? But we're talking about leaders here. So these are the folks that are putting out more effort, more energy. They are still trying to prove themselves, and so they in doing that, they need to make themselves. There's a need to, and I've been there, so I don't want to say them and us. Like, we feel a need to prove our value, and we became a leader because we demonstrated value in the role that we were in, and someone recognized that and said, oh, they'd make a good manager. They'd make a good leader, right? And the reality is, just because you can do a job really well doesn't mean you're going to be a good leader, but that's who we tend to promote. That person only knows worker energy. Worker energy is what got them promoted. Now they're in leadership, and they're going to try to channel more worker energy to make it work. It works to a degree, but in order to move and become a really effective leader, you need to start giving power away. You need to start decentralizing. You need to start empowering your people. Otherwise, you end up with star and supporting cast, and that is not only ineffective, highly ineffective in a business, highly ineffective as a team, the model should be supporting a cast of stars. That's the empowering leader. I remember I say this to all my leaders now, and when I first say it to them or when I first ask them, they don't know how to answer, and they have all kinds of great answers to this question. But I say, what is fundamentally the primary job of a leader? It's to create other leaders. I didn't understand that when I was a younger leader. Right. I thought my job was to solve every problem, right? Make every decision.
Be the hero,
save the day, put my cape on, whether I felt like it or not, carrying like suitcases of kryptonite and dragging them along, trying to do the job. That is a really flawed understanding of what leadership is. When I understand that my primary role is to create and empower other people, help them become better decision makers, better problem solvers, help them grow in their capacity, so when they come to me, they're coming to me for much more sophisticated issues. They're not coming to me for the day-to-day. That frees me up as a leader, frees you up as a leader to focus on the more strategic parts of your business. You're no longer the system now. You're building something. Systems scale, people don't.
Right, exactly. Okay, so I
just said a whole lot there.
No, I'm imagining.
Unpack all that stuff. Come on, host.
I'm imagining the leader or business owner hearing this, scale, delegate, and the first rationalization or maybe excuse, and we all know how to dismiss ideas with rationalization, would be this one. My team isn't ready yet. So therefore, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then next year, I'll also say my team isn't ready yet. And then the year after that, I'll also say my team isn't ready yet. And we get into this endless cycle of the team is never ready. So how would you respond to the owner who's trying to distance himself from what we're asking?
How ready were they when they started their business?
How
ready are they when they start a new initiative and feel that imposter syndrome because they're pushing themselves beyond what is comfortable? New levels mean new devils. Every time you push yourself beyond what you've done, you're going to feel that discomfort. It's interesting that as leaders, we doubt ourselves, we second guess ourselves. We're never quite ready. How do we become ready by doing? We become ready by taking the step, doing the reps, right? It's like leaders that are obsessed with making the right decision. So, well, listen, of course, as a leader, you want to make more right decisions than wrong ones. I'm not suggesting you go out and make wrong decisions just to get the reps in, okay? But the reality is even the most sophisticated, experienced leaders make mistakes. Right? So it's not so much about making right decisions, it's about making decisions right. So if I make a decision, turns out to be the wrong one, or I made the best decision I could with the information I had at the time, and now there's new information. Well, now I make that decision right by adjusting and pivoting and working with my team. So do we wait till we're ready, or do we become ready through doing?
Yeah. And the beauty, I think, along those lines is by you're right. You can give all the theory in the world until people put it into practice, they don't really learn it or understand it. And the beauty in most organizations is if you don't think your team is ready to take it all on, let them take some on. Bring them in that you can ease people into those roles where you can be, we talk about this in delegation. And delegation isn't just sometimes, I don't want to do this anymore. You do it from now on. Good luck. Let me know how it's done. Sometimes it's
It looks like that an awful lot of the time.
No, when it's done poorly, when it's done well, you're setting them up with the expectations, with the metrics. You're guiding them. You're doing a lot of check-ins in those early days. So when you don't think your team's ready, then introduce them to some of it. Manage and guide that as a good leader would. And then continue to just give them more and give them more and give them more.
The word delegation, fundamentally, if we look at etymology, the root of the word is the same word that we get the word legacy from.
Wow.
Delegate and legacy come from the same word. So delegation is not just about, now I'm a big fan. Yes, leaders do need to get lower level, lower priority tasks off their desk. These are important functions. Now, every business has got shit they need to just stop doing. They've been doing it for years. It's ineffective, and it actually doesn't move the needle. So doing an audit of what we need to stop doing is critical. But there's a lot of functions, they're important, but the leader, they're not necessarily important for the leader to do. So we need to be thinking about that. What should the leader be focusing on? But delegation is, again, far more than moving work from somebody's desk to somebody else's desk or someone's laptop to another person's laptop. Like it's far more than that. It is literally about leaving something behind. If we think legacy, legacy means something lives on after I've been involved. So when I am investing in another leader, they are becoming more. It's about helping people become better. And when you help your people become better and you invest that time and energy, yeah, they're going to make mistakes. Yeah, you know what? If they can do it 70 to 80% as well as you do it, good, great. Now move on to something else. You may never get them to do, you may have some star players that show up and they'll probably outshine you. But as the owner, the founder, or the person that has started this thing, you will care more about it than anyone else. And to expect an employee or team member to care to the same degree is fantasy land, right? So focus on building better people, building better systems, and freeing yourself from being the chief bottleneck in your business, because that all of a sudden now you've created something that can scale. And whether you want to scale and make it really big, or you want a business that just doesn't drown you all the time, doesn't feel so heavy on your shoulders, regardless of what your ultimate goal for it is, when you build a team and you invest in your team, you will have a much better quality of life, not to mention a more successful business.
Here's a hard truth for the business leaders who are watching this right now. You may very well be leading your business in a way that compromises your results and that guarantees your burnout. At Rhapsody, we don't coddle, we coach. That means getting you out of the weeds, helping you build a team that delivers and gets amazing results, and help you lead like a damn pro. You've played small long enough. Go to rhapsodystrategies.com and let's start building the life and business you've always dreamed of.
So again, another rationalization or excuse that an owner or a leader will bring is this: it's too slow. It's slowing everything down. If I delegate, if I give it away, it's slowing everything down. What would you say to that leader who is resisting scaling and building systems or delegating because it slows everything down?
How slow do you think you're going to go when you're doing everything yourself?
Wow.
So if it's slow to, I get that in the moment, there may be times where it's frustrating. You go, this would take me 30 minutes to explain and I could probably do it in 5. But if you have to keep doing that same thing over and over and over and over, it's a bad strategy. That's like Moses, who felt, the Bible says,
from the Bible.
Yeah, from the Bible, right? He's going to save the Israelites from Egypt. And so he decides he's going to do it his way and tries to kill an Egyptian. And he would spend then the next 40 years on the run. His strategy, not so good.
No.
If he's got to take out Egypt one person at a time, right? Like in that story, God had another plan, right? If you believe all that stuff, but whatever. Like the point is, we often look at the immediacy of what's in front of us and we say it's faster if I do it this way, but it's not. It's incredibly ineffective because you're likely doing tasks that somebody else could easily do,
right?
Even if they can't do it exactly. Different is not deficient. It's just different, right? And with the right processes and systems, you can mitigate against it deviating too much. And so it can be closer to, right? But it frees up more time for you to get off of the front lines. You needed to be at the front lines at the beginning of this thing. Now we need you in the commander's tent, right? Strategizing and planning and envisioning and investing in your leaders. That's the stuff that you never give away. But there's so much that is on the typical leader's plate that they need to delegate.
And I think that there are some creative ways to minimize the slowness. We hear it all the time when we talk to a business owner about even just creating systems. And they'll be, well, I don't have time to create systems. No, you don't have time not to create systems because you're going to continually be always doing it. It will always be up to you if you're not willing to put the time into doing it.
Well, what's the saying? If you don't have time to do it right, you must have time to do it over.
Exactly.
And over.
Right. And
again
over.
and again.
And so we often, when we're coaching people, we talk about create systems in real time. You can mentor and delegate work in real time. It doesn't have to be, well, now I have to stop and now we have to sit down and I have to train this person to do it. No, do it with them. And then you can keep
Get
that
them to
pace
build it.
going. Get them to build it. With many of the systems, get them to build it. But the number of times I've said to an owner when it comes to, if you've got a system or something that you are looking to hand off to somebody else that's done on a computer, beautiful. Screen record that shit. Like, record yourself doing it. Talk out loud as you're doing it, but record it all. Throw it into AI. There's your step-by-step system.
Yeah.
So there are ways to
even better. Because I love that. And I think I'm a big fan of that. As a matter of fact, I think you guys know I'm a systems guy. And when I create something new, or when we start something new initiative, I try to map it out so that other people can follow along. And part of my fundamental philosophy is my job's not done until it's a system somebody else can replicate.
Right.
Because if I'm the only one who can do it, now if we're just running an experiment, this is not established in the business yet, very little systems need to be developed because no one else is going to be trying this for a while. But once it becomes established, there better be a system. One of the best ways to combine training your people, making them better, and improving your systems is when you're training that person. If you don't have a process already established, you sit down with them and walk them through it, or do a screen thing like you suggested, right? Then have them do the work of write me a summary, or turn this into a document or a checklist someone could use, and then let's review that together. Now you're gonna catch gaps in their understanding. You're gonna catch, we missed a step, or right, so we need to tweak it. The very act of them, when you do too much of that for them, it becomes something they don't care about, or that they grasp, but they grasp only at a surface level. If you involve them in creating the system alongside of you and give them a role in that process, I can guarantee you, one, their understanding of that accelerates tremendously, and you just also improved your processes, right? So doing it in real time, making it a training exercise, building shit as you go, that is the wiser move. Now, if you've got an established business and you haven't done this, it can feel overwhelming. Pick where the business is hurting the most, where maybe you're bleeding money or bleeding time, and pick one system. And again, pull in a team member or several members of a team and say, we're going to address this together, and delegate that task. Don't take it on as the owner. You're the systems engineer. You don't have to be the systems analyst doing all the data entry, right? Like, if I can use that analogy.
Yeah, really good. And one of the favorite things that you brought into our understanding as a business at Rhapsody and as coaches was the machine model. If the machine model is when you are experiencing challenges in the business, you can go one way to solve the problem or another way to solve the problem, and the instinct is to say, I just need better people.
Right.
I need to replace the people. I need to fix the people. It's the people. It's the people. And in some cases, it is. But that's not what really wise leaders do. They don't go to people first as the problem. They go to the machine first, the system first. Is the system operating the way it should? What are some thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Ray Dalio created that model from his book Principles, and it's a simple model, but I use it all the time. Again, and your business is designed to produce certain outcomes, achieve certain goals, and when that's not happening, that whole machine sits on two legs, and one leg is the system, the design of the machine itself, as you said. The other leg is people. Less sophisticated leaders, when things aren't going according to plan, go down the right side of the model
blame
the people. Now, listen, there may be a people problem involved, but smarter leaders with more experience and that are savvy, that understand that organizations are learning, if you blame someone, you may correct the problem with that individual. Let's say, Tom didn't follow through and this mistake happened and we had an unhappy client, and you have the come to Jesus talk with Tom and tell him he can't do that again. He's got to follow the process. Well, depending on the severity of the situation, Tom may go, yeah, you're right, and never do it again. Great, right? But if you didn't fix the system, if the system or the design of your machine contributed to Tom tripping up, well, guess what? Tom moves into a new role, or Tom moves on to another company.
Right.
Someone steps into his role, makes the same damn mistake. Right? You haven't fixed a thing. Your smarter move is to say, again, what is it about the design of my machine that is leading to us bleeding time, or leading to this customer dissatisfaction, or causing us to constantly get caught into scope creep, whatever the situation is for your business. When you're running into a problem, the first question you should be asking as a strategist,
right?
But this is the problem. Most leaders haven't learned to be strategists. They're acting like the whack-a-mole tactician firemen that are just walking around, whacking things down or putting out fires, right? That's not very strategic. It's very reactionary. But a strategist would say, what's wrong with the machine? And let's fix that so that the mistake doesn't repeat itself. And if there's a people issue in a conversation that needs to happen with Tom, let's do that too.
Right.
But let's make sure we plug the hole, or else the boat's going to continue to leak, regardless of who is rowing at the oars, right? So it's again, this system engineer. Think of yourself as the primary growth agent of your business. Think of yourself as the primary people developer. Think of yourself as the primary systems engineer. Those are three roles that you can't fully delegate. Doesn't mean you're training every leader. Doesn't mean you're developing every system. Doesn't mean you're driving every growth initiative. But you better have your finger on the pulse of those three areas, because they're critical to your success. Fundamentally critical.
Yeah. And when there's anxiety in the system, it's not just a business issue. This also happens in families. It happens on sports teams. It happens anywhere where there's two or three people interacting. It's very easy to scapegoat and blame Tom. That this is Tom's fault. But again, the wise leader, the sophisticated leader, steps back and say, what's not working in the system? I remember even as a dad, because I know not everybody listening is a business owner, but everybody's in charge of some system.
Yeah.
As a dad, there were things in place that just weren't working. And then the kid is acting out, and you blame the kid. You scapegoat the kid instead of stepping back and say, oh, maybe coming home at 8:00 every night, exhausted and tired and grumpy is a broken system. And no wonder the kids are acting out.
What a great, you probably couldn't have picked a better example from like a non-business type example, because you talk to any experienced family therapist, and how many parents have brought their kid to therapy and say, like, fix my kid.
Right.
And the therapist very quickly is bringing the whole family in, because there's likely a systems issue that is caused behind this, right? There may be some behavioral issues, yes, things that are unique to that individual, but the parents probably have some shit to work on, and the family's got some shit to work on. Everything is connected. And when you understand that as a leader, and again, a strategist understands that a system is like a spider's web. If a fly flies into it over here, the spider can feel it way over here. If I throw a rock in the middle of a pond, biggest splash is at point of entry, yes, but the ripples travel right to the shore. And so when I understand that that's how a business functions, or any system functions,
right,
then I'm not going to just firefight, because I might put a fire out here and cause three more over there. I might fix this here and break something down the chain.
And
it's more strategic than that.
And another great example, we're using these different examples from different worlds. I think of it, we're recording this kind of in the near the end of the NHL's regular season, and there's lots of teams that are trying to get into the playoffs. Anxiety shows up for some of these teams where they're on the edge and they're worried. And what happens for a couple of the star players is they stop following the system.
Right.
They start to, and you hear the commentators or the coach will even make this comment. They're trying to do everything. They're trying to solve everything. And if we could just get them to function in their role within the system that we've designed, we might win. But when they stop doing that, what happens is you've got a player, let's say, trying to take the puck up the ice. The defenseman isn't sure what they're doing because they're not following the play that was designed. He's not doing what we designed. So now he's out of sync. And how often do we see this in business and families or whatever, is where when somebody is now operating outside of the scope of what we designed, especially when it's the owner or the leader, your team is experiencing anxiety because they're like, what's our play? Where are we supposed to understand what's our role. And all of this becomes, now everybody is anxious as a result of it.
You made a great point, Rob. And I think it's probably been said on the Living Richly podcast 175 times is that when anxiety goes up,
right,
thinking goes down.
Yeah.
And we've already...
Where two or more are gathered, there is anxiety in the midst of them.
In the midst of them.
There's stupidity.
Right. And that's the point. It's like when I'm anxious, I'm not thinking, so I do stupid things. And
stupidity is contagious.
And stupidity is contagious. So when we talk about the owner being the bottleneck, let's touch on this idea of when one person does too much, or we call it overfunctioning or overperforming, which I think is a default for a lot of owners.
Yeah.
Then the other person or other parties underfunction or underperform.
Yes.
And sometimes the business owner underperforms. Doesn't step in and lead, doesn't step in and do what needs to be done. And then you have team members filling the gap in ways that is not within their role or within their authority. And you have this weird partnership of overfunctioning and underfunctioning. It's a dance that takes place.
Yeah, it's a dance where everyone's constantly stepping on each other's toes, but we're not willing to talk about it. We're just wrapping our feet with tape constantly to deal with the fallout. It happens all the time, and I would agree with you that I would say again, we don't have statistics on this. Anecdotally, the vast majority of the leaders that we work with would fall, at least the ones I work with, and I'm sure it's the same with you, are more on the overperforming side. Yeah. But I would say often they're overperforming in worker type energy. So they're stepping in where their team could be stepping in and trained to fill in. So again, they're using their best energy on things that are low level priorities, and then the important stuff doesn't get done. And then where they're often where I see them underperforming is on the leadership side. And when I say that is they're not channeling enough leadership energy. They're channeling too much. They're overperforming on worker, underperforming on leaders. That makes sense, right? So there's and that causes the dynamics that you described. There's a gap of leadership. There's no clear direction. The communication's unclear. The leader is scattered. One of my clients joked with me. She said that the team used to tease her. That was before we worked together, but used to tease her that her desk was where everything came to die.
Wow.
Right? Because it would just come to her. Everything had to flow through her, and she just couldn't get to it. And so important things would flounder, and opportunities would get missed, and problems would happen as a result, and staff would be unhappy, right? Like when the leader is too busy and keeps deferring and push. I know no leader has ever done this watching the show, but keeps pushing off that important performance review or that check-in with that leader, and you just keep rescheduling the meeting because you're too busy. You might just be too busy and moving. What you're communicating to that other person, however, is they're not a priority, they're not important, and you're feeding dissatisfaction. So again, where are you putting your energy? Is it going to what matters? Are you just responding to noise in the organization versus signal? You have to come to a place where you fundamentally believe that your role has to shift and begin that process a little by little, step by step, of getting the day-to-day off of your plate more and more. Now, some roles I get, you may always have some of that in your role, but are you carving out and investing enough time in your leadership role in your organization to take it where you want to go and build it deliberately? Are you doing that in your life? Like, again, you don't have to be a business leader. We talked in a previous conversation about how so much of our energy as humans goes to noise, and we're not clear on who we are, what we stand for, and so we just end up kind of living or coasting and drifting, but we're not living a meaningful life. So it's the same in business.
And I love that that notion of the worker energy and the leader energy. I think it's important, and it's a great question that, someone who's listening even now, as you look at your day-to-day, to ask yourself every time you're doing a task, am I showing up here with leader energy or worker energy? And that can be just that alone. Might be a great way to kind of go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe I need to do this differently because I'm clearly in worker energy here versus the leader energy. So I really, really do like that language.
Yeah, I came up with a simple framework, and we use this actually with our leaders as part of a end of year sort of reframe and prepping for a new year, and I call it the momentum framework. And it's 3 simple steps. The first thing you do is you decide and delete. What's the shit I need to get off my plate, and either delete permanently or at least defer, delay, or delegate. Right? But what's the thing you need to decide and you need to delete? You need to get things off of your desk so that you can focus on what matters. Once you've got more bandwidth, you got to choose your big 3. Don't try to figure out the whole future for your business. Don't worry about the 5, 10. You should have a vision of where you're going as an organization. But in today's world, a 5, 10-year plan is just not realistic. Things are changing too quickly. But what are the 3 big moves that you need to make? And that could be a revenue move. That could be an operational move. That could be a leadership move, right? We're going to, the revenue move is we're going to lean into this product line because it's our most profitable, and we're going to try to raise that sales of that by 20%. That's the revenue move. Maybe it's an operational move. We're going to optimize this part of our system because there's a lot of inefficiency there. We're wasting a lot of time and energy, and we're consistently seeing mistakes. So that's might be an operational move. Leadership move, I'm going to get this off my plate, and I'm going to start devoting one afternoon a week to reviewing high level, the dashboard of the business and how we're performing, and not just run from meeting to meeting or from one email to the next, right? Whatever those are just examples, but choose your big 3. That's the second step. Third step, align and activate your team. You can't change the dance and not communicate that you've changed the dance.
Right.
A lot of leaders make a mistake where they read a book, they listen to a podcast like this one, or even our clients have done this, where they're working on a significant change, and kudos to them for doing it. But if you don't communicate you're doing it, all you're doing is throwing more mud in the water. Like long term, it may work out, but if your team doesn't understand why you're doing it and what we're after and what to expect, you're creating more confusion than anything else. Imagine I take the dance floor. You and I are used to dancing the tango, and all of a sudden,
you and me,
you and I
together,
yeah, we're dancing.
Wow,
okay,
I like it.
And we're used to dancing the tango, and I just show up one day and start dancing the salsa. Right. Well, but you don't know that.
Isn't that something you put on chips?
It is.
It
is it the salsa? No, it's not salsa dance. Isn't that a thing? Is that
salsa? Yeah, no, you're right.
It's also a dance, isn't it?
No, it is now. It is now. Yeah.
All of a sudden, I go, wait, is that? You're right. That does go on on nacho chips. Nacho chips.
Oh no.
Don't get me started. The point is, I'd be stepping all over your toes. We'd be bumping into each other. It would be a very frustrating exercise. I would eventually just start dancing. I'd go back to dancing the tango.
One of my favorite things that I will do, I've been coaching a leader for a while, and he decides we're going to do a team training. And I'll go into the team meeting and
fix my team.
No. Well, yes, that's usually what he wants me to do. But I'll go in, and the first question I'll ask is, all right, so who here is clear on why you've been asked to this meeting, right? And almost, not 100% of the time, there's been a few exceptions, but almost 100% of the time.
I have no idea.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know, he told us we had to come to this meeting, right? And he sees,
most
or he or
employees,
she, they see, right? Like, but
most employees show up to team training or employee training whatever, and they're hostages, right?
Yeah.
They have no choice. They've been forced to be there.
And they have no idea what the agenda is.
I've started coaching engagements with leaders, like, so, we start with the founders and the heads of the organizations, and then we start coaching some of their like middle managers. And I've sat in on the first session where I'm meeting this new leader for the first time, and I say, so how much has been explained to you about what this is about?
Exactly.
And like, I have no fucking clue.
And most of the time, because of that, they think they're in trouble.
Right. They were called to the principal's office.
They've been called in. He's brought in this person from outside to reprimand me.
Yeah. So the whole point is align and activate. Communicate. Align and activate your team. When you start taking these steps, if you're changing the dance, sense in any way, you need to communicate it, and not just once. If this is so new or so different from what you've been doing, you'll need to communicate it.
Never met an organization
that over communicates, right? You're going to have to remind and reinforce, remind and reinforce, remind and reinforce. But what's the option? Keep doing it the way that you're doing. And let me ask you, how's that working for you?
Exactly.
Right.
I love that we're moving into some practical applications to help move into building systems. I love that momentum thing that you talked about and how we communicate. And there's another request that I often get as a coach when I'm first engaging with a business, and that is, can you help us with our roles and responsibilities? And it's not. It's
so much fog there.
It's not like, it's not ego. It's not fear. It's just we haven't done the work to make it clear what lane we're in. So I'm in everybody's lane. And again, when we're doing that kind of work, when we're building those systems, it's like we're building a car while we're driving the car. Like we're doing the business.
Or more like jumping off a building and building the parachute on the way down.
Building the parachute on the way down.
But I've found as well is not only do they come and go, we don't know who's doing what, we don't know what we're doing. Right. Oftentimes they haven't even, I mean, we've seen this all the time when we start working with most organizations and we start talking systems, we actually have to move it back and go, let's start talking about the functions. What are all the things that you're doing in your business?
Right.
And then identify who is responsible for those. And it's amazing how many, one of my favorite stories I tell when I'm talking about creating functions is with one of your clients early on, that was a physiotherapist. And if you remember this story where they were creating and they realized, well, they need to have certifications for all of their physiotherapists and they need to keep them in track. And then one of the other functions was keeping them up to date. And as they're looking, they realize,
no one owns it.
No one owns that. And how he panicked for a second thinking, shit, are they up to date?
Turns out he had, I think it was 2 or 3 of his physiotherapists that had been operating without a license for several months because it had been overlooked. Listen, if your primary role as a leader is to create other leaders, the best gift you can give your people as a leader is clarity.
Yeah.
Clear the fog. So things like, where are we going? What are our main goals? And do our current roles align to that?
What matters?
Are the functions that we're currently busy engaging in day-to-day basis, do they support where we're going? Or is it just busy work? Is it just stuff that we've always done and we keep repeating it, right? So getting clarity. Now, that can sound overwhelming to start there, but let me just say, roles alone, there's often so much confusion on what lane am I in and what's expected of me. And even for organizations say, oh, we've got a job description. I'm saying, okay, do you have a doc? Yeah, and they're really proud when 20 minutes later they find it some random folder in their Google Drive, or if they're old school, like they
in a binder
somewhere. And I'm like, when's the last time you looked at that? When's the last time it's
dust?
It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Right? It's like oh my God, I just had that visual of
that's a good
right, but it's exactly like that. I'm like, listen, a role of all the documents or of all the systems, we're talking about systems, but a role description, a role clarity is the word I prefer to use. It is a system in and of itself.
It is
to help to give someone a framework, not to micromanage them, but if they've got the proper framework, they can freestyle all day long within that framework and know exactly what their role is, what buckets they're responsible for, what is expected of them, what great looks like in that role, right?
That's not something vague.
That's been defined as well. Exactly. Like, what does great look like? Like, we don't do that work. And then what's one of the primary complaints we hear from leaders is finding and keeping the right people is really hard. And I'm like, well, part of it is because you're not clear on what you're trying to attract. You're not even clear on what the role is. And if you do get clear, it doesn't stay clear long because you use that role description usually at the time of hiring, and that employee may never see that document again. And the role likely is morphing and evolving and changing, but the understanding of it isn't clear by all parties, so it gets really, really confusing.
I had a client conversation literally just this week. We had been working on creating these role descriptions where we were like, let's get rid of the 4-page job description. And in
Nobody can remember
on
that.
one sheet of paper,
Yeah.
what are the high-level responsibilities and what are the metrics that define that good job, bad job on those high responsibilities. And they created that for their team. And we came on the call this week. He had presented it to his team. And he said he saw his key leaders light up because for the very first time, they knew what they needed to do.
Right.
And how and what good looks like, what great looks like. And he said, I cannot believe that it took me, he's been in business 20 years, took me this long to realize to create such a simple framework that your employees to clear the fog.
100%.
How much he said all of a sudden it's like for the first time I'm not thinking I have to replace all these people.
Wow.
Right?
Wherever there's fog, think of it this way: wherever there's fog, there's hesitation, there's fear, there's anxiety. The vast majority of people, when they drive into a patch of fog, most people aren't flooring it. They're not going faster. They're not stepping or heavy-footed on the accelerator. No, they're typically taking their foot off the gas and probably even tapping the brake. And the level of energy and output that they are experiencing in that moment. Think of a storm or a winter storm you may have driven through, or a big, long fog patch. You get on the other side of that, and your immediate feeling is one of relief. And you get to your destination, you're probably more tired. You are putting out more energy going slower. That's what fog does. So if you want to speed up your people, if you want to make the ride less anxious for them, you'll never have a fog-free organization. Again, that belongs in the world of fantasy. But if you could reduce fog by 20%, 25%, I often push on roles. We use a tool I created a few years back called the Clarity Compass.
It's so good. I was going to bring that up. The Clarity Compass is so good.
And it really, in its essence, it's what are the 3 to 5 buckets that whatever responsibilities this role is responsible for, can you tell me what it is in 30 seconds or less, 3 to 5 buckets? And if you can't, you're not clear. And if you're not clear as the owner,
They're not.
how can they be clear as the employee? And if they're not clear, you will get a very small percentage of people that'll barrel ahead and you'll need to reel them back in. I'd rather, restrain a racehorse than try to raise the dead, but that can also be problematic. Most people will wait.
Right.
Wait and hesitate and wait again for you to save and step in. This is how it's a vicious cycle.
It is. And it all feeds into it.
And every time you step in where they ought to step up, the whole system resets around you again.
Yeah.
Right. So, which is problematic.
Yes. So that's so powerful. That's the external system building that really, really helps. So let's wrap up with this thought, because we started at the beginning that while some of it is external, some of it is internal around ego and identity. And sometimes that's the bottleneck. It's this internal bottleneck that I'm needed. And if they don't need me, then who am I? Where's my worth is in being the primary problem solver, or whatever it might be. So just as we get ready to wrap up here, and we're talking to that leader, that business owner, what would you say about ego or identity and needing to let some of that go? What comes to mind first?
An immature, insecure leader is pretty common. Right. So I said it on a previous show. You're not special if that's you. You're not alone if that's you.
Right.
You're in really good company. It ought to be a priority for you, for any leader, to work on their emotional maturity and their sense of self, and building up, if they lack the confidence, building the confidence, and understanding that your value isn't just what you do. Because as long as your identity, mine was there for years, decades, and I paid such a heavy price. Because the moment when I was doing well, I was on top of the world. And when I made a mistake or things weren't going right, the world was on top of me. And tell you that was heavy. And so my coach challenged me back in the day, my mentor. And he said, it's okay, Eric. The reason you're struggling right now with this stuff is you just haven't developed the emotional maturity yet, he said, right? To be able to understand where like where you fit in all of this and how to approach this in a healthier fashion. So I would say for all the leadership work, for all the books you're reading on growing your business and becoming a better leader, there is some personal work required that, if done, will accelerate. For me, a sophisticated leader isn't just someone who's highly successful. Like that's where most people would go. I think success can be defined different ways. I think a highly sophisticated leader is a person who's done the work and is able to let go more readily, is able to step back more readily, doesn't need to be at the center of everything because they have wrestled with who they are and they're good with who they are.
Right.
And they understand their role is to empower others and surround themselves with people smarter than themselves. That is a fucking sophisticated leader.
That is.
But you got to do work to get there.
Yeah. What are your last thoughts on this?
Well,
one?
and I would say to piggyback on that, for many, and I'm thinking of a particular client of mine that I've been coaching. I would say this over and over again, every single meeting. He wasn't ready. Now, one of the things that helped him get ready, one was he had some health issues that came up as a result of constantly driving. And then secondly, he began to surround himself with some people who were ready. And he wasn't ready, so he lurked in that group, right? But he watched people who were doing it different until he was able to go, maybe I should do it different.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I think that there is an element of that is we cannot, you can drag a horse to water. You can't make them drink. We can't get them in that place where they're going to make that change, where they're going to where they're going to recognize there's a different way to find value than in what you do. There's a different way to find worth than in what you do. All we can do is continue to say the message. But I would say, even if you're not there yet, just surround yourself with people who are there, and it might catch on.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good.
Yeah.
As the host of the show today, I want to say you two have been wonderful guests.
You did the host with the most today.
Yeah, I'm the host with the most.
Did a great job.
There's been so much that's been said today that's so valuable. If I was a listener, I'd be listening to this one on repeat, I think, to capture it all. We've talked about the external building systems, building people, delegating. We're also talking about our internal world that keeps us from bottlenecking everything. So let's wrap up with, I know I've watched you do this several times. If you're going to look into the camera, you got a leader, a business owner, or maybe a mom or a dad. What are some last words of encouragement, or maybe even ass kicking?
I would come back to something I said earlier. If you don't have time to do it right, you must have time to do it over.
Right.
Remind yourself of that. Every time you think, I don't have the bandwidth for this, you do, even if it's a small step. We encourage small steps as the place to begin. Take that small step, get the process started. It will pay off. If you do nothing, you will stay exactly where you are right now.
Right.
Yeah. And if you look at the entire thing, it's just a massive elephant, right?
Yeah.
You've got to go in and one bite at a time.
Right.
And so focus in one step. What's one thing you can do today? What you at an organization, at our inner circle, you ask the question, what's one thing you're willing to do this week?
Yeah.
And I would say that to the person listening is, what's one thing you can do this week to move the needle?
Yeah. Excellent. So if something landed for you today, then we don't want you to just sit on this and say that was a nice podcast. We want you to act. And the first simple action you can do is like and subscribe to this podcast so you can be getting more and more of this. Livingrichley.me.
That's correct.
Right? That's where you go. My brain is working really hard right now as the host trying to remember. And then, of course, the last thing is that we want to say thank you to Rhapsody Strategies, who sponsors this program, the podcast. And if you are a business leader looking for support, coaching, business growth, business health, please check out rhapsodystrategies.com. All kinds of resources, all kinds of things there to help you live your best life. And so finally, we want to say at the end of this podcast, go and live your best life.